I should unmute my microphone. All right, everyone. We are back with Dungeons and Dragons Warriors of the Eternal Sun. Now, full disclosure, the extent of my Dungeons and Dragons knowledge consists of watching some Dimension 20 on Dropout, which I highly recommend, by the way. But I enjoy it a lot. Um, so, I'm really looking forward to this speedrun. Can someone drop in chat whether you can hear me, by the way? Because the closed captioning isn't working, but the audio mixer is. I'm not sure which one to blame. Before I keep going, can you hear me? Cool. Sweet. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, so I am here with Rujasu, who's going to be running D&D, Warriors of the Eternal Sun. We had a poll for this. I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. Rujasu, you are going to be playing a dwarf, which is exciting. And I am going to stop talking. I'm going to update the stream title. Thank you, Jackal. And Rujasu, take it away.
All right, thank you. I am Rujasu. I am going to be playing some Warriors of the Eternal Sun on the Sega Genesis here. And I have never actually played a dwarf in a marathon, so this is going to be a first for me. So, to do that, the default party does not have a dwarf in it, so I'm going to have to create a new party. So, yeah, we're going to get going with character creation here in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so I'm making a dwarf, and I am going to roll until I get 18 strength. And the dice rolls here are predetermined. There's a pattern that I'm looking for. And there it is, 18 strength. So I can guarantee that I'm gonna reroll 18 strength at that exact point every time. And let's go. So those 3 clerics aren't important. They're going to be sacrificed very early in the run. It's really all about this strong dwarf in the front. So the only thing about this particular run category is I cannot use the hide in shadows glitch, which I can't use it anyway because I'm running as a dwarf, but the thief has an ability that's glitched that lets you get instant criticals and do some other things you're not supposed to do, but this run doesn't let you do that. You just have to kind of do it normally, like almost glitchless. And you can basically run as any character class except magic user, just because it would be very difficult to do it as magic user. You could, but it would take twice as long. So anyway, this is an RPG based on basic Dungeons and Dragons rules from like 1992, 1993, thereabouts. I'm gonna have to not load, save, and then load, because I don't want to fight those enemies there, and it turns out that if you save and load on the overworld, it saves everything except the enemies that you see, so you can just skip every overworld battle by doing that. So that's pretty handy for a speedrun, because we definitely don't want to fight overworld battles, because overworld battles in this are sort of like Ultima or you know, Exile, that sort of thing, where it's you know, very slow turn-based battles, kind of a tactical overhead thing, and that would take forever, so we're not going to do any of those. I'm going to do a little safety save here. What we are going to do is these battles in these first-person dungeons, and like I said, gonna just kill off these clerics, because all they do is slow us down. I'm going to go back here, I'm going to sneak past this dragon, and I'm going to get some cool equipment that's going to carry me for the rest of the run. So +2 sword, +2 shield, +1 bow. These are things that we normally would not have access to this early in the game, but we were able to just skip past things and get to it easily. I'll actually switch to those weapons right now, and I'll switch my HP to numbers so I can get a better idea if I'm dying or not. And I'm just going to kill this fire giant for an extra level here. So all of that was just to get myself some good equipment and a little bit of level up so that I can run through the rest of the game, do more damage, survive. So now I'm going to come up here, and there's a fight I have to do, and, you know, a trigger that I have to touch to advance the plot, that sort of thing. I don't want to pick up that +1 Warhammer, but sometimes enemies drop things that we don't really want. It's not too big a deal. So I just needed to kill that monster there, and that triggers some plot stuff. So I walk back to town, and I'll get a key item, and I'll use that to go further in that cave I was just in. So when I'm on the overworld like this, enemies will just kind of spawn and walk toward me, but you'll notice I'm kind of zigzagging around sometimes, and I'm trying to walk close to like trees and mountains and rivers and stuff, and that's because I'm just trying to reduce the probability that enemies are going to spawn, so I don't have to fight battles or do that save load trick that I did earlier. Basically, anytime you're really close to an obstacle or like walking toward an obstacle, the game sort of doesn't know where to put an enemy, so it just doesn't bother like spawning random battles. So if you walk in the right pattern, you almost never get random encounters. So, as you might imagine, that's good news for a speed run. We fight like as few battles as possible, basically. Like none on the overworld, and just a few in dungeons.
Do we have a quick second for a donation?
Absolutely. There's always time for donations here.
Perfect. It was perfectly timed because I was just about to order my lunch and walk away, but a tea tree with a $10 donation and the comment, because medical debt blows. And honestly, mood. Are we still saying mood? Or is that an old person thing now? I don't care. I am an old person. Mood. Thank you, Tea Tree, very much for your donation, and y'all keep them coming because, just as a reminder, for every $1 that you are able to donate, $100 in medical debt is eradicated. So $10 donated from a Tea Tree just now means somebody just had a $1,000 bill wiped off the face of the planet. So keep it up. We got a long day ahead of us and 2 more days tomorrow, but that does not mean you should wait. Now is always the best time to donate to eliminate medical debt.
So yeah, I am also an old person, as you might have guessed given the game I'm playing right now. This is a game that I was one of the first RPGs that I played as a kid. And I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't get very far in it because we rented a copy that did not have a proper battery in it, so I could never save. So it turns out you can't get very far in RPGs if you can't save, unless you're like me and you know how to speedrun it in like 30 minutes. But yeah. So I got very familiar with, like, the beginning of this game, and that was about it. So, as I said, this is a game based on 90s D&D, so there is definitely some stuff here that has not aged well. The main plot of this game involves a monster that sort of poisons the brains of the townspeople, and as you can imagine, it's maybe not the most sensitive about handling mental health issues. Fortunately, we don't read any of that dialogue here, so it's not too much of a concern. Also, depiction of indigenous people in this is not so great. Early D&D and even early 90s D&D was not always great about that sort of thing. But, you know, this game's really good otherwise. So this enemy here is very dangerous, so I'm going to back up and shoot it with arrows. Take me a second here. So I'm going to walk over here, I'm going to touch a magic tile of plot triggers and walk back. The game sort of expects you to go through that door and go into another area, but it turns out you don't actually have to go there. You can just walk up to the door and then just walk away. So we basically skip an entire section of the game by not going in there. So now we just backtrack through this cave and go to a whole different spot. So there might be a spider that appears for like 1 frame or 2 here. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It did not happen, which is good because spiders can poison you, and I really don't want to get poisoned in this run. So that's that dungeon down. So I'm going to head east and head for the Azcan Cave, which is going to take us to the Azcan Temple. Hey, Moderate Jog, thanks for the good luck. Shout out to Moderate Jog, who's in chat, who is the world record holder for every category of this game. Moderate Jog came up with a lot of good strats that really helped us bring the time down for this game, and many of which I am absolutely stealing for my runs here. So we have to sneak through these trees here. Am I lost? Okay, I think I need to go like 1 over or something. Everything's fine here. Yeah, these trees are actually like completely miserable. Usually it's fine because I know the exact pattern to walk, but I just like walked the wrong way there. And some of these older games, you know, it's like everything looks exactly the same. So I'm actually having to look at the map here, which is kind of awkward, but I know where I am now. So we're going to head up into this cave here. I am going to grab a healing item just for safety. I probably could do the run without it, but I want to be 100% sure that I'll be able to finish this, so we're going to play it safe. So I'm going to go in here, fight these beetles. spam arrows. Fight the Troll King here. Thankfully it did not troll us. So I'm just going to move an item out of my inventory here, and I'll pick up this regen ring. So that'll just give me a little bit of passive healing for the rest of the game. So if I take a few too many hits, then, you know, I'll still be able to... screwed up my movement a little bit there. So I'll have to fight these scorpions. Minor time loss, but... yeah. I didn't get poisoned, so it's fine. These I can skip. This one I'll have to fight. You can take a different route through here so that you don't have to fight these saber-tooths, but then you don't get the regen ring, so it's faster, but much less safe. If I was going for a PB, then obviously I'd take the faster and not safe route, but this is a marathon. I want to make sure I finish, that sort of thing. Just doing another save and reload there, so I don't get into an encounter. So we're very strong with one character in the first-person dungeons, but we're actually pretty weak in overworld battles. So that's part of the reason we don't want to fight them. We actually might lose if we fought them, aside from the time concerns. This is supposed to be a mandatory fight here, but you can just use the save and reload trick and skip it every time. So, as I said, there's a little bit of unfortunate imagery here with the Azcan people. It's, you know, clearly putting together Aztec and Incan. But this is also, I would say, the hardest dungeon in the game to learn. In the any % route, this is just a really hard dungeon in general. But with what we're doing today, with having heavy armor and having a healing item, it's not too bad. But it is difficult just in terms of learning the route, because, you know, it's a big maze, there's a lot of secret walls, a lot of traps, and it's very easy to just, like, get lost. Yeah, as Moderate Jog says, this is where runs go to die. Like, if you're going for a PB and you don't have a healing item, especially in any %, you can just die halfway through this run, halfway through this dungeon, and there's kind of just nothing you can do about it. It's basically just RNG. But here, you know, that's why we get a healing item, so we can make sure we get through this in one piece. So on this next floor, we're going to be able to get the key item here, which is actually a ring of fire resistance. Normally you wouldn't think a ring of fire resistance would be absolutely necessary, but there's good reason that it's needed for this run, and you'll see why in just a little bit. So I'm just going to spam some arrows here to take out a couple enemies. I'm going to do a little inventory management so I can pick up the ring here. And I'm just going to immediately back out and get out of this place. So that went really well. I didn't take any more damage than I needed to. Pretty happy with how this is all going so far. And yeah, we're just kind of backtracking through the dungeon here. Like I said, this is one of my favorite RPGs and one of the first ones that I played. It's definitely a little different from other console RPGs. It's not by a Japanese company, and I think this was the only RPG that this team ever worked on. But it's not necessarily the longest or deepest game that you'll ever play, and it definitely has its quirks, but I really like it. It has a really cool soundtrack, and it has some things that are a little different that I think are just interesting. I think it's interesting how, on the overworld, the game is sort of more like Ultima or something like that, and then you go in a dungeon and it's like Eye of the Beholder. So I'm going to save and reload just to be safe here. I might have been able to get around that group of enemies there, but I don't want to risk it. I want to play it safe because I do not want to have to do that temple over again. These ones I don't think I could avoid anyway, so just going to do it again. Yeah, definitely some similarities to Wizardry and games like that. So here I can basically avoid every enemy on the way back. I shouldn't have to fight anything. I can do this move to skip the scorpions. I do have to fight this one statue here, but that's really quick. So on the way back, I'll be taking a little bit of a different route, and I'll be going back to the cave I was at in the beginning, but I'll be taking a different route through that. And then I'll be getting to basically an area that's like all lava. So we're going to need the Ring of Fire resistance to get through it. The game actually won't let you progress to a certain point if you don't have the ring. Even if you were to cast fire resistance or something, the game would just say, turn back, it's too hot. So again, I'm just trying to use this, the river and the trees and stuff here to kind of protect myself against encounters. Did get one coming from the back there, but it wasn't close enough to me to worry about. Yeah, we got some pretty good music coming up in the in the fire area. So I don't have to fight anything in here, just memorize the route and we're good. So yeah, this is why we needed fire resistance. This is just, like, nothing but lava, oops, all fire. It's also kind of one of the worst spots for, like, overworld encounters. Like, you see one there. And you just kind of get a lot of spots where you can't really do anything to avoid them. But we only got one there, which is pretty good. Like, sometimes you'll get, like, just 3 or 4 of them, and it's a real nuisance to keep saving and loading just to get to this cave. So these scorpions on the way in are not much of a problem. They are a problem on the way out, and I've definitely lost runs to scorpions on the way out. Do a little inventory management here, because we need to pick up the medallion here. The medallion's a key item we need for the end of the game. So yeah, as I'm going back here, we kill these scorpions again because they just respawn. Every time you change floors, enemies respawn. But I also have to deal with these scorpions and the ones hitting me from the left. Fortunately, I did not get hit at all, which is, like, a miracle. Supposedly, the dwarf has poison resistance, which is good against scorpions, but in my experience, the dwarf can just get poisoned anyway, so it doesn't really help. It may just be that they never bothered to implement the poison resistance in this game, or, like, they didn't implement it in dungeons, because it turns out that a lot of things in this game just... they sort of just never got to. There are several attributes, for example, that don't actually do anything. Charisma doesn't do anything, which, you know, of course, in early D&D, maybe a lot of times charisma doesn't do that much, but... also, intelligence and wisdom don't seem to do anything noticeable. Really the attributes that you're concerned with in this game are strength and constitution. Dexterity to some extent, but dexterity is not as important as you might think. Dexterity is supposed to help with damage from missile weapons, but missile weapons are actually based on strength in this game. So we're just backtracking to the castle here, and we're going to see what's going on there. Yeah, you might notice the castle's looking a little differently. They had a bit of a party here, and, you know, it's, they got a little too wild, and nobody's hanging out because I guess they're all hungover. So we're going to go over here and talk to Marmillion, who's, I guess, one person who didn't drink. We get a key item that, between that and the medallion, that'll give us everything we need to enter the final dungeon. But first we go through this graveyard, which is kind of a shortcut to the final dungeon. there's not too much going on in here. Like, these enemies aren't very hard. There's a bunch of secret doors that I have to go through, but otherwise not too much. Will be a couple of dragons coming up, but we won't have to fight them at all. We can just kind of look at them and say hi and be on our way. So this one we just walk past. This one we have to wait a second to see if it moves, and whether it does or not, we can go. We just can't go right away because it might attack us. And the same one with that third one, and we're out. So, as you can hear from the music getting a little more ominous, we're in like the final area here. So if there's any donations or anything you'd like to say, go for it, like right now. Because we are entering the final dungeon here. So, as long as I walk correctly here, I won't get hit by any of these elves here. I can just walk around them, and they don't do anything. This part here is a little dangerous, because I have to fire a bunch of arrows. And let's see if this works. Yep, I'll have to kill these. It does look a little bit like the Windows 95 screensaver, yeah. So we got through the first floor okay. Sometimes you get hit with a fireball for like 25 damage, and that's really rude. If you don't, and like right now we're at 30 HP, we should be able to get through the rest of this without too much trouble. These mages can also hit you for 20 plus damage, but as long as you stay out of melee range, they won't hit you with a fireball, which is completely backwards because fireball is notoriously something you use from range, but whoops. I screwed up. I just walked into that. Which is fine, I'll just have to do that first floor there over again. Okay, so once again, walk right past these elves. Spam arrows here. The idea is, like, while you're spamming arrows, enemies will kind of try to stay out of the path of the arrows. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do there. Here I'm just spamming arrows because I just don't want to take damage. I want to have as much health as possible going into that final floor, because as you saw, enemies at the end are very dangerous. One minor error on that last floor, you can get one shot pretty quickly. Okay. Okay, perfect. So, this fire giant can also be a problem. Probably should have backed off a little faster than I did. You really don't want to get into melee range with giants like that. There is a way to skip that Chimera. It's difficult and risky, so I fought it the hard way. Vampire's not too bad if you have a bow. It's very difficult if you're playing as the cleric and you only have a sling. Okay. Here we have Medusa, who is really easy in this game. A couple more giants. Again, we want to hit the giants with our bow. We don't want to get up close to them. Got to level up there, so that helps. This Chimera here can be dangerous, but it's pretty easy to skip. But I just took it out. Then there's one last enemy here, and then it's going to be time. Alright. Time. And we get to watch some 16-bit era cutscenes here. May not be the best graphics, but, you know, anytime you have a T-Rex stomping on another monster, that's a quality cutscene right there. So, yeah, we saved the day, and everybody's just kind of brought back to their senses, and everybody's celebrating, and, yeah. That's Warriors of the Eternal Sun. Like I said, I really enjoy this game. It's, you know, one of the fastest RPGs you can speedrun. Yeah, if you're interested in this sort of game, give it a try.
Thank you so much, Rujasu. That was excellent. And we are once again running a little bit ahead of estimate, because all these speedrunners are too speedy. Who'da thunk? So we are going to throw it into the intermission screen, listen to some music for a few minutes, and we'll be back shortly with Alexis Goes Moo, running Xenoblade Chronicles Future... Oh gosh, this is a big long title. Future Connected. I've never seen this game, I don't think. I've seen a lot of Xenoblade stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen this one specifically. So stick around. We'll be back shortly.